There is a hunger in the modern soul that no amount of validation can satisfy, a deep, aching need to be seen as good, as spiritual, as worthy in the eyes of others. You have felt this hunger. You have curated your social media presence, modulated your words in spiritual circles, and carefully constructed an image of someone who is on the path, someone who is evolving, someone who is, above all, acceptable. But in the quietest hours of the night, a troubling question arises: who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when the applause fades and the approving nods turn away? This hunger for approval is the very chain that keeps you bound to the courtroom of public opinion, and there exists a path, so radical and counterintuitive that it has remained largely hidden, that offers the ultimate key to this prison. It is the path of the Malamati, the way of blame, a forbidden Sufi tradition where seekers do not avoid criticism and disgrace, but willingly embrace them as the most potent fuels for their spiritual transformation. This is not a path of masochism, but of alchemy, where the base metal of social shame is transmuted into the gold of divine intimacy, where blame itself becomes your greatest blessing. The Malamati path begins with a shocking realization that the desire for a good reputation is one of the final and most sophisticated fortresses of the ego. Your nafs, your lower self, is perfectly content to be seen as a saint, as long as it can remain in control. It will gladly perform all the prayers, engage in all the charities, and speak all the right spiritual words, if in return it can secure the admiration of others and, most importantly, its own self-admiration. The Malamati seeker, understanding this trap, makes a conscious and terrifying decision to systematically dismantle this fortress by becoming indifferent to both praise and blame. They are not interested in being seen as good or bad, they are interested only in being true before God. The Quranic verse, "Not fearing the blame of any critic," becomes their living mantra, not as an attitude of defiance, but as a state of such profound inner alignment with the divine that the opinions of creation simply lose their weight and their power to define. Imagine, for a moment, the ultimate freedom of having nothing left to protect. Imagine no longer editing your speech to win favor, no longer hiding your flaws to maintain an image, no longer feeling the hot flush of shame when you make a mistake in public. The Malamati seeker walks toward this freedom by engaging in a practice known as the cultivation of the insignificant appearance. In the golden age of this path in 9th century Nishapur, this did not mean behaving immorally, but rather, consciously concealing their spiritual states and virtues, and sometimes even allowing themselves to be perceived as lesser, as flawed, as unremarkable. They would perform acts of incredible devotion in absolute secrecy, while in public, they might engage in a profession or behavior that was looked down upon by the respectable religious society of their time. A great Malamati saint might be seen by day as a simple ironsmith, his hands blackened with soot, his clothes stained, while by night he would be immersed in such profound communion with God that the angels themselves would gather to witness his state. The blame he received from those who dismissed him as a mere laborer was, for him, more precious than their praise, for it protected his heart from the deadly poison of spiritual pride and kept his connection to God pure, untainted by the expectations and projections of other people. This is the first, trembling step onto the forbidden path, the willing exchange of a good reputation for a true relationship with the real. The Malamati path is not for those who seek gentle evolution, it is for those who desire radical, surgical truth. It demands nothing less than the systematic dismantling of the social self, that carefully constructed persona that navigates the world through a complex web of approvals and aversions. This is not a metaphorical death, but a conscious, voluntary undertaking to starve the part of you that feeds on external validation. The great Malamati masters of Nishapur, like Hamdun al-Qassar and Abu Hafs al-Haddad, understood that this social self was the final barrier to unconditional divine love. They devised a series of practices so fierce in their honesty that they have remained largely concealed, not because they are secret, but because few possess the courage to implement them. The foundational practice is mujahad and nafs, the struggle against the ego, but with a Malamati twist, The battle is not fought in the solitude of one's chamber, but in the marketplace of human opinion, where the ego is most vulnerable and most invested. The primary weapon in this struggle is the practice of sir, or secrecy. While most spiritual paths encourage the sharing of insights and states to inspire others, the Malamati does the opposite. The Malamati seeker becomes a spiritual thief in the night, stealing moments of divine intimacy and hiding them so deeply that not even their closest companions suspect the depth of their connection. If they are granted a vision, they bury it. If they experience a moment of profound ecstasy, they conceal it behind a neutral expression. If they perform a miracle, they attribute it to coincidence or deny it altogether. The famous Malamati teacher Abu Hafs al-Haddad taught that revealing spiritual states was like leaving precious perfume uncorked. It would evaporate into the air of people's praise, leaving the bottle empty. By keeping the cork sealed, the fragrance of divine presence intensifies within the heart, creating a reservoir of spiritual potency that is independent of the outer world. This practice of secrecy is an active starvation of the ego's need to be seen as special, and in this starvation, the ego weakens, and the soul's innate humility blossoms. But the path goes further, into even more challenging territory, the practice of accepting blame for what one has not done. This is the ultimate test of one's freedom from the opinions of others. In a world obsessed with justice and clearing one's name, the Malamati willingly takes on the weight of false accusation. If a mistake is made in the community, the Malamati might remain silent, allowing others to assume their guilt. If a charitable act is discovered, they might subtly deflect the praise onto someone else or even imply they had selfish motives. This is not about deceiving others, but about deconstructing one's own attachment to a clean reputation. The intense inner fire of being wrongly blamed burns away the last residues of the need to be understood, the need for fairness, the need for the world to reflect back a positive image of who you are. Through this fire, the seeker discovers a terrifying and liberating truth. Your identity in the eyes of people is utterly irrelevant to your identity in the eyes of God. Realization is not the peace of being loved by the world, but the peace of being so completely loved by the divine that the world's love or blame becomes as significant as the chirping of a distant sparrow. This death of the social self is a profound mourning. You will feel the passing of the person you worked so hard to build. There will be moments of intense loneliness, not because you are alone, but because the familiar reflection you once saw in the eyes of others is gone, and you have not yet fully stabilized in the only reflection that matters, the gaze of the beloved. Old friends may drift away, confused by your seemingly strange behavior or your lack of interest in maintaining a certain image. You will be misunderstood, judged, and perhaps even ridiculed. But the Malamati walks through this storm with a secret smile, for they know that every drop of blame that falls upon them is a drop of divine grace, washing away the filth of hypocrisy and polishing the heart to a mirror-like finish. They are dying to the world to be born in God, and in this sacred death, they discover that blame was never a curse, but the most unexpected and efficient vehicle for returning home. What emerges from the ashes of the social self is not a void, but a heart that has been polished to a mirror-like finish through the constant, loving friction of blame and obscurity. This is the promised state of the Malamati, not a state of grim endurance, but one of luminous, unshakable serenity. When the noise of the world's opinions has been silenced, when the desperate need to manage one's reputation has been surrendered, the heart finally becomes what it was always meant to be, a perfect reflector of divine attributes, a clear pane of glass through which the light of the real can shine without distortion. The ego, which once clouded this glass with the smudges of its own self-importance, has been worn away. What remains is a profound and essential humility, not the cultivated humility of a spiritual persona who says I am nothing, but the actual, lived reality of being a mere locus of manifestation for the divine. The Malamati does not think of themselves as humble, they have simply become transparent, and in that transparency, the only thing that appears is God. This polished heart exists in a state of perpetual, intimate conversation with the beloved, a conversation that is entirely concealed from the outside world. The Malamati might be engaged in a mundane task, sweeping a floor, bargaining in a market, while inwardly their heart is immersed in the remembrance of God with an intensity that would shatter a lesser being. This is the ultimate secret they guard, that the highest spiritual states are not only compatible with ordinary life, but flourish most authentically when hidden within it. The blame they receive from others for their seemingly lowly status or their apparent lack of outward piety becomes a protective barrier, a sacred fence that keeps the curiosity of the world at bay and preserves the sanctity of their inner garden. A profound peace settles in their chest, a peace that is completely independent of external circumstances. It is the peace of a servant who knows they are utterly known by their master, known in their flaws, their secrets, their deepest failures, and yet loved with an unconditional, encompassing love that makes all other validation feel like dust. The final, most beautiful fruit of this path is the death of hypocrisy itself. For the average seeker, there often remains a gap, sometimes a chasm, between their public spiritual performance and their private inner state. For the Malamati, this gap is closed. There is no performance left. There is no one left to perform. Their outer appearance of insignificance is not a mask, it is the natural expression of their inner reality of being a mere vessel. When they are blamed, they feel no urge to defend, for the one who would be defended is gone. When they are praised, they feel no stirring of pride, for they know the praise belongs to the actor, not the instrument. They have achieved the ultimate sincerity, ikhlas, not by trying to be sincere, but by removing everything that was false. They walk through the world as a living secret, a hidden treasure whose value is known only to the one who buried it. Their greatest blessing is the very blame that the world uses as a weapon, for it is this very force that hammered them into their true shape, polished their essence to a brilliant shine, and forged within them a connection to the divine that is as unbreakable as it is invisible. The path of blame has revealed its ultimate secret, it was the path of purest love all along. We live in an age of relentless exposure, a digital marketplace where every thought, every meal, every spiritual insight is curated for public consumption. The modern world has become a global Nishapur, but with one crucial difference: where the classical Malamati sought the protective cloak of obscurity, today's seeker is pressured to perform their spirituality under the blinding spotlight of social media. The ego, in its most insidious modern form, now dresses in the robes of the influencer, the thought leader, the spiritual guide with thousands of followers. It has discovered that spiritual branding can be the most potent validation of all. In this context, the Malamati path emerges not as an historical curiosity, but as an urgent, radical antidote to the spiritual sickness of our time. The principles that guided the 9th century masters now offer a revolutionary way to navigate the 21st century soul, a way to practice authenticity in an age of performance, to find truth in an ecosystem of curated lies. The modern Malamati begins their practice with a simple but profound act: the digital fast from spiritual performance. This does not mean abandoning technology, but rather undergoing a fundamental recalibration of intention. Why do you post that quote from Rumi? Is it because it genuinely pierced your heart and you wish to honor the moment, or is there a subtle hope that others will see it and think of you as deep? Why do you share that you attended a meditation retreat? Is it to inspire, or to burnish your spiritual resume? The modern Malamati learns to sit with these questions and, more often than not, chooses to keep the most precious moments private. They might have a profound breakthrough in their practice, an experience that would garner dozens of admiring comments if shared, and instead, they write it in a private journal, or simply hold it in their heart as a secret gift between them and God. This creates a sacred, inviolable space where the relationship with the divine can grow untarnished by the need for external validation. Conscious engagement with cancel culture energy. In a world quick to judge and condemn, the modern Malamati finds unexpected grace. When faced with criticism, whether fair or unfair, they do not rush to defend their image or craft the perfect rebuttal. Instead, they turn inward and ask, "Can I use this blame to purify my heart? Can I release my attachment to being seen as the good one?" This is not about accepting abuse, but about transmuting the energy of blame into a tool for inner freedom. They understand that the fear of being cancelled is ultimately the fear of social annihilation, and by willingly facing this fear, they disarm it. They discover that their true worth was never dependent on their social standing, and that even in the midst of public disapproval, their connection to the divine remains untouched, like a deep ocean current unaffected by surface storms. Finally, the modern Malamati practices the art of holy ordinariness. In a culture that celebrates extraordinary achievement and viral success, they consciously embrace the beauty of being unremarkable. They might be a highly realized being, yet they choose to work a simple job, live in a modest home, and deflect any special attention. They understand that true power lies not in being extraordinary, but in being real. Their spiritual practice happens in the supermarket line, during their commute, in the quiet moments of washing dishes, not on a mountaintop for all to see. They become living proof that enlightenment is not a status to be achieved, but a presence to be lived, and that the most profound transformations often occur in the hidden, uncelebrated corners of a human life. In a world screaming for attention, their silent, steadfast authenticity becomes their most powerful teaching, a teaching not conveyed through words, but through the radiant peace of a heart that has nothing left to prove to anyone but God. The journey through the forbidden path of the Malamati culminates not in a grand revelation, but in a quiet, unshakable freedom, the freedom of a heart that has finally outgrown the need for any audience other than the divine. You began this path entangled in the invisible chains of social approval, haunted by the question of who you were in the eyes of others. You have walked through the fire of intentional obscurity, willingly accepted the sting of unwarranted blame, and practiced the sacred art of concealing your light. And now, you arrive here, at the secret smile of the truly free. This smile does not appear on the lips, it radiates from the core of a being that has discovered its eternal, unassailable worth. The world may see the same face, the same humble demeanor, but behind the eyes now shines the quiet knowledge that you are known, loved, and sustained by the only one whose opinion has ever truly mattered. The blame of creation has been transformed into the very substance of your blessing, for it was the hammer that shattered the prison of your own self-importance. This freedom manifests as a radical and effortless authenticity. You no longer navigate social situations with a calculator, tallying potential gains and losses of prestige. You speak the truth as you feel it, not as a performance of honesty, but simply because you have forgotten how to do otherwise. You engage in acts of service and compassion not to build merit, but as the natural overflow of a heart that is connected to the source of all compassion. If your actions are misunderstood or criticized, you feel a pang not of hurt pride, but of compassionate sorrow for the ones still trapped in the game of judgment. You have become like the earth, upon which both flowers and garbage are thrown, and which receives them both with equal grace, transforming all into nourishment. The final fortress of the ego, its identification with being a spiritual person, has been dismantled. You are simply a human being, fully human, and therefore, a perfect vessel for the divine. The path of blame has thus revealed its ultimate, glorious secret. It is the most direct path to divine love. By systematically removing every obstacle that stands between you and God, primarily the obsession with your own image, you have cleared the channel for love to flow unimpeded. This love is not an emotion you feel, but a reality you inhabit. It is the air you breathe, the ground upon which you walk. The Malamati does not seek union, they discover that they have never been separate. The blame they embraced burned away the illusion of a separate self that could be either praised or blamed, revealing the continuous, loving presence of the beloved that was there all along. Your life becomes a hidden sanctuary, a private garden where you and your Lord meet in the sweet, unadvertised intimacy of every ordinary moment. The world may see a simple, unremarkable life, but within that apparent insignificance burns a love affair of cosmic proportions. This is your inheritance. This is the forbidden fruit of the Malamati path, not power, not prestige, not spiritual fame, but the simple, staggering freedom of being nobody for everybody, and somebody only for God. You are now a secret keeper of the most precious truth, that the key to heaven was never in the applause of the crowd, but in the liberating grace of their blame. Carry this secret smile in your heart as you walk through the world. Let your life be a testament to a different kind of power, the power of truth over appearance, of essence over form, of love over validation. The path ends where it began, but you are new. You are free. You are home. This was the journey along the forbidden Malamati path, where blame is alchemized into blessing. But the true test is in living it. What is one small, concrete step you can take this week to practice holy ordinariness, to consciously release the need for recognition in one area of your life? Share your anonymous commitment below. Let this be our first collective practice of hidden sincerity. And if you are ready to explore the ultimate frontier of this path, the state where even the desire for God's reward vanishes, your final initiation awaits in the video that appears now. Sufism's Secret Committee of 300, the Hidden Guardians of Spiritual Order.